That's James's waffle. It's organic blueberries on the top, which are humongous, and Saskatoons that we picked around the outside. And this is a pumpkin waffle, and below is a carrot chai waffle.
Pretty awesome.
I'm having just the pumpkin waffle and some pumpkin latte. Now I'm going to talk about
yesterday, right?
Yeah, I think so. So I'm going to talk about these eggs that I bought. Now, they were large, and I wanted to buy them special because I used to like buying this brand, and I'm not going to buy this brand anymore, and I'll tell you why. These ones, this one's not even the same color, which is not necessarily that troublesome to me. It's obviously a large egg. This one's obviously a large egg. These two are obviously small eggs. And
are they bantams, you think?
Right, not quite that small. But I realized, and this one came in broken, so I really got,
gypped.
Yeah.
No, I shouldn't say that. That's supposed to be like a gypsy.
Oh, is it?
Anyway, yeah, exactly.
Oh, I didn't know where that came from.
Yeah, gypsies.
But anyway, what I was thinking, well, they don't have any way to seal this like it's like eggs used to be given to or sold to people in these cartons, right? And I was buying the eggs for James that were the President's Choice eggs, the organic ones, and they're free range and stuff. And I'm not getting them because they're organic necessarily. I'm getting them because I don't want chickens to be abused. And neither does James.
I kind of like chickens.
Yeah. So
they're not as cute and cuddly as a lot of people think. Some are, like Helen, your silky chicken.
Yeah, she was very cuddly.
Used to cuddle with her, I think. Is that what you're saying? And but in Africa, we had lots of chickens in Africa. Huge.
Well, some bantams are very mean. Some of them.
Yeah. We had banty roosters. Yeah. My dad called them banties. And
but silkies are nice little.
There was one chicken. When we called her Annabelle the cannibal. Yeah. Her name was Annabelle. My older brother gave her that name. But when it came to slaughtering time for her fellow chickens,
oh, how terrible!
She'd be out there chowing down on the remains of the remains. So,
yeah, how revolting!
Us kids were kids. We're not that impressed. That would have been when I was between ages 8 and 10. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Things. You're fairly impressionable then. So.
And maybe that's something to keep in mind when it says vegetarian fed. Maybe that's a good thing. I never thought about that before, but if some chickens are eager to eat slaughterhouse waste, well,
yep.
Yuck.
So it should be going after intestines.
Yeah.
You knew where I was going.
I guess maybe she thought intestines looked like worms, though.
Possible. Anyway, she got really excited. She was scrambling around.
That's great.
Yeah. That was a pretty good nickname, though. My brother came up with Annabelle the Cannibal. And
I don't think it's the fault of the manufacturer. I don't think they put in small eggs with their large ones and sold it as large eggs. Mm-hmm. I honestly think somebody swapped some out. They wanted to buy large eggs and only pay for mediums or small or whatever, right?
People do those sorts of things. You got to watch out when you're buying CDs.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention any particular places, but people would swap. Sometimes they'll, I think, take 2 out and just leave an empty case.
Mm-hmm. So, since we don't have a lot of money, I don't really want to I don't want to be paying for somebody else's large eggs anyway. Like the eggs that are in here, they may not be organic or free range or vegetarian fed at all. For all I know. Somebody could have swapped them out from the cheap eggs.
Something I'd never thought. That's awful.
Yeah. So.
Makes you wonder. How
So
the other half lie.
Yeah, because the President's Choice ones, the big packs, they're plastic wrapped.
Yeah.
So nobody's swapping those eggs out. So when I get those, I know that he's getting the actual organic free range.
You recycle the plastic, so.
Well, it's
It's a sad thing when you have to do stuff like that because people can't be trusted.
Yeah. But I have a chicken coop here, and we should just be raising our own chickens. I just haven't looked into whether they allow it here.
Well, they were talking on the radio a while back about people having chickens as pets.
Well, I know, and I know a lot do, and like I used to keep chickens right here in this yard, but it wasn't legal when I did it. It was just something I did.
Well, the law is to try and keep control of people who are surreptitiously doing this stuff for commercial purposes. And you weren't doing that. So
no, I was not.
You were
I was only keeping hens. I was not keeping roosters. Nobody should keep roosters in the city.
Well, I mean, so you weren't.
Or honestly, even
bothering
in an acreage.
people with their crowing or stuff like that. But so you were obeying the spirit, if not the letter of the law. I think most people who keep chickens as pets would be that way. You never can tell. I've been very disappointed in people who've been obeying the law without the spirit of the law. They're not required to mask, and so they're just prancing around wherever, not wearing masks. They don't give a care. I don't care, really, if they don't give a care about their own health. I really don't. But if they want to commit suicide, I'd wish they'd all gather together and go someplace else. For their own free will. It's a free country. But it's really... I do want to follow up on the trial and tribulation you had the other day with a couple of people ganging up on you. Trying to bully you out of wearing masks. It's a free country. And you should be free of that kind of harassment. That stuff should be illegal. If there's any threat of violence, it should be
They weren't
punishing.
threatening violence. They were not threatening violence.
Well, I'm not saying that. If there's any threat of violence, people should be in jail for a long time. It should be a felony. It is getting scary on the street. I anticipated it over a year ago. I was saying, I'm afraid of getting pounded out for wearing a mask. And it's getting worse. So all these people, and I'm using these people negatively here, are strutting around, believing in their freedom. It's getting to the point where they want to curtail your freedom. Rip your mask off if you're a health worker. Harass you if you're walking to some place set up. It's none of their business. It's a free country. It's none of their business whether you want to wear a mask or not. I'm scared to do what they're doing to people. I'm scared to confront them. And they're disobeying the law.
Well, we were outside, so...
I know, but I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about People who'll be the one place where I have confronted people, because there's lots of witnesses, the hospital. And if they put me in the hospital, well, by punching me out or something like that, well, I'm right there in the hospital. And it's particular, like it's, one case it wasn't a worker, but every other case it was workers. People working there in the hospital with the yipping and yapping of people in their faces and the mask down off their nose. Or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, what do you
So many people who are strutting around, styling themselves as libertarian. It's just liberty for them. And they don't mind curtailing your freedom. In some cases, I think they actually enjoy it. Anyway, previews. These things I've gone through. I haven't. This Hungarian, way more than halfway through. And the Tibetan, I wish. I'm just going through it to get the sound system, the writing system and the sound system. Tibetan phrase book and dictionary. It's quite good. Both of these come. Recommended. Don't buy them, but if you can get them used, go for it. Hungarian phrase book and dictionary. Put up by Lonely Planet. They look awfully small and inconsequential, but they've got little dictionaries in there, also phrase books. If you, I checked through the Hungarian, you memorized all the stuff that's in the dictionary there, you'd have about a 3,000 word vocabulary. How good is that, man? Should be able to read a dictionary. Yeah, you should be able to read a newspaper with a fair degree of understanding. I'm not sure how much is in the Tibetan dictionary here. Looks like a little less, but maybe 2,000 words. You added it all up. Now these things are more for tourists and stuff like that, but like I say, you should be able to read the dictionary if you memorize all that stuff. And it's actually pretty good with the Tibetan. They introduce you to the alphabet, as it were, the writing system, and then all the weird convolutions that come with it. And the nice thing is, I think pretty well every case, when they give something in the Tibetan, they give a transcription into English. It's not like they introduce you to the sound system and give you a few transcriptions and okay, now you should have it, because it is hard to get a hold of stuff like that when you're learning a language and you're learning a different writing system than the Latin script. If it's something in a directory like this, I figure it's only right that they transcribe everything. Sure, it means that there's less content, as it were, but it just helps you out. I mean, I've got some memory techniques that help me with stuff like that, but still, I have to go through things several times. So, enough fun and games. Now we get down to the serious stuff. We started it yesterday, the Rolling Stone review of the 1990s music. And it wasn't that miserable an era, I think, for politics. I mean, it's the Clinton era. Lots of folk gauches just hate Clinton with a passion. Hey, he got the Democrats elected. They're almost unelectable from 1968 till 1992. Whoa, he's a bad guy. To the what a bunch of idiots. They'd rather have someone pure and like Bernie Sanders. Of course, he's a Russian agent, but someone like Bernie Sanders, because at least he stands for the right things. Yeah, he's standing out in the cold. Unelectable. I know at least one person going, oh, he could have beaten Donald Trump. In your dreams. Stupid people. He was really popular with the working class people. What are you talking about? He comes from Vermont. I suspect was he the mayor of, I think he comes from there, mayor of Burlington, which is what's its population, 150,000, 130,000. It's a university community. It's the University of Vermont. It's populated with a bunch of faux gauches, or faux gauches, however you want to style it. Unelectable. You know, Bernie Sanders for president of Antarctica, you idiots. President of Antarctica. I'm not going to, you know, like I'm encouraging him to head down there, you know, but I wouldn't want to see him, he's a Russian agent. I wouldn't like to see done to him what the Russians did to so many people, ethnically cleansed people, the Chechens, for example, in 1944, and they left them, I believe it was in Soviet Central Asia, up until the end of the Soviet Union. Yeah, that's problematic. I don't think Gorbachev did much about them. So here we go. This is supposed to be rock and roll, and here's who Britney Spears. Okay, yeah, you know how they're going to be playing it, right? Britney Spears probably circa 1999. Now this is a little bit better, right? You don't recognize that. That's even before they became famous. So he's wearing the goatee. That's Kurt Cobain, and I don't know. Do you say it Chris Novoselic or Christ Novoselic or whatever? Anyway, they're bass players, or former bass player. I don't know what he's doing right now. Oh, and man, you know this is a serious publication when you got Vanilla Ice, otherwise known as, I think it was Robbie Van Winkle or something like that is his real name. He's kind of a handsome kind of guy, but I think a little bit of a dope. They did a hatchet job on him in their article. And yes, there is an article here on Vanilla Ice. I find him kind of comforting.
So basically this is a picture book.
It is basically a picture book. And there is, I don't know exactly what he's doing. He looks as though he's airborne, but that's Kurt Cobain back in the day. Like, how is he kind of like falling on his back or something like that? It looks as though he's playing at the same time. Got his feet way up in the air. Very impressive. Yeah. And here we go. We're talking about what is that? Eddie Vedder, right? Good Dutch guy. He's kind of a handsome kind of guy in a cute kind of way. And then Stone Gossard. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing Ben Ament. Mike McCready and Abruzzese or something like that. I've forgotten his first name. Is it Dave or something like that? Yeah, Dave Abruzzese. I'm probably mispronouncing the way they mispronounce their names. Vedder, I'm pretty sure. It's okay. There he is again, just really storming the stage and stuff like that. I gotta say, I like Nirvana when they first came out, on video and stuff like that. Smells Like Teen Spirit. I'm going, wow, this is a change from the 1980s. And I had some optimism. And then, they had some fairly decent lyrics. But I listened to, it's not the Stone Temple Pilots. What is that, the name of that group? The ones, Pearl Jam. I'm going, wow, I love this picture of Mud. They look so amateurish. I think they're a good Seattle band. I love you, Mud Honey, just for that picture. I probably hate their music, but, not hate, it's just boring. They should have called grunge sludge. So, I love this, the Kim Thale, the guitarist. He just does not look like a star. And that Soundgarden, yeah. And so Chris Cornell, I love this guy too. Ben Shepherd. He looks like a introverted German Shepherd or something like that. And the drummer? What's his name? Matt Cameron, I think. The Dutch, not Dutch, Scottish name. But Chris Cornell's the big star there. Oh yeah, they've got to have a picture of him. And yeah, I just found him sludgy. So there's Kurt Cobain. He's a handsome kind of guy in a Western kind of way. And there he is, kind of doing the Pete Townsend thing. He'd smash the guitar like Pete Townsend and stuff like that. And he's one of my heroes, I guess, from the early 1990s. I'm a early 70s kind of guy, but I could appreciate what he's doing. He even has an old-fashioned Marshall amp there. That's very nice. He's done his homework there. And then we've got stuff from 1990. We've got this Public Enemy, Flava Flav, I think, and what's the name of this idiot? I can't remember. Anyway, they're looking pretty bad. Look at it. This is all they give for the B-52s. A wee little thing like this. B-52s are some of the best stuff from the 80s and 90s, and actually the late 70s. They actually had some talent. Yeah, the two women could sing Storm Up, and they could play kind of like characters and things like that.
That's all they got. Of Cindy or
no, it's just Kate Pearson and Fred Schneider. So that's appalling, you know. Like they give more play to Milli Vanilli.
Yeah, well, that was pretty big news.
It was big news, and the press conference where they haven't explained how they're lip syncing.
How they're actually not the musicians at all.
Yeah. So what's this guy named Rob Morvan or something like that? And I've forgotten the name of this loser, but Fab Morvan and Rob Pilates. No, Pilates. Yeah. And this one's kind of cute. You got Aerosmith, and it's the only play that Aerosmith got in here. They were pretty big in the 90s, but they're playing with Wayne of Wayne's World. Yeah. But they left Garth out of there. That's kind of a bummer. But yeah. Aerosmith was. I mean, this is 1990. They were looking old and over the hill, half in their graves, and that was 30 years ago. My God, that's awful. Anyway, who's this other idiot with Public Enemy? Oh, Chuck D. Now, here's something. Do you even recognize this? Yeah, they're all dressed up to kill. But this is, I'm told, this is Flea here.
Oh, yeah. I see.
You're not wearing the tube socks, so you don't recognize him. And then this would be, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Anthony Kiedis? Is that how they say his name? Good LA guy.
You'd know better than me.
Yeah, exactly right. I've got his autobiography, and I'm sure it's ghostwritten, but, I've kind of bogged down, and I gotta admit, it's kind of boring.
Honestly, I wasn't listening to that much 90s music when... in the 90s. So
yeah.
I you were into seeing stuff like Nirvana and thought, oh, this is great, and I was just there was
when I first heard grunge, I couldn't stand it in the sense that I got bored.
Yeah.
So that's in the late 80s, right? I had a friend of mine who was playing and said, it's awesome. You know, he was 5 years younger than me, but it wasn't his generation.
I mean...
I'm going, there's nothing to distinguish one thing from another.
You say, like, you tell me about how you were put off by music in the 80s and stuff, and it's like, well, the stuff that I was listening to in the 90s was, a lot of it was 80s stuff, like the Smiths and...
Yeah, that stuff wasn't getting much radio play.
Cure.
So I'm just talking about the radio when
And honestly, I was getting out of the Cure. Like when that album Wish came out, and there were a lot of hits on it. Friday I'm in Love, and James loved that song.
Yeah, that one really works for me.
Yeah, but I didn't care for it that much. It was the one that
you don't like upbeat stuff
nearly
as much as I do. But I like it because it seems so desperate, you know.
Well, that is true.
Yeah.
But
so it's upbeat, but behind it all,
yeah,
Robert Smith has his way of playing with sadness.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But,
well, it might work out, but it's desperate, you know, like he's...
So that was the last Cure album that I bought new. Because I was getting out of them at that point.
Yeah. So, I loved the Cure in the 80s, but there just wasn't enough of it on the radio to make the 80s worthwhile.
True.
That's the
and
problem.
I did like
R.E.M.
the album
I loved
Wish,
R.E.M.
all right. As an album, I just didn't. I didn't like the popular stuff off of it that much.
So here's Smashing Pumpkins. This guy, even in the 90s, he got fired for heroin addiction. But I think it was just because he didn't look girly enough. Here's Billy Corgan. Brandy, the bass player, I think, is a girl or a woman. And then James Iha, you'd swear that's a woman, right? Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, the guitarist. Chamberlain, I think, Jimmy Chamberlain.
Yeah, my sister was a pretty big fan of those Pumpkins.
Okay. Here's, you know which group. And I love this picture. Fleas, I've always noticed Flea. You know what I'm saying? And Kiedis, it's hard not to avoid him. This French Yoshi or Frusciante, he's kind of like a handsome guy. I never noticed him before. Yeah. And actually, when they were on the cover of the Rolling Stone, they cut him out. Can you believe that?
Really?
And it's no wonder that he left the group and he was replaced by a guy by the name of what was it? Dave Navarro or something like that. He was going, oh, I'm bummed. The guys didn't even stand up for me. I didn't even make. See, I'll show you. It's on the back here. See? Who got cut out? It's that picture. There you go. This Chad Smith, their drummer, he looks so dumb.
Does he?
He looks like a dumb. I played soccer against guys that only dressed a little bit more prudently, shall we say. He looks stupid. Poor old Chad Smith. He doesn't look quite so dumb in this thing. You can tell who the aggressive propagandists are in the group. But apparently Flea actually has some chops, you know, like maybe some jazz and classical stuff, you know? Yeah. So I first, you know, I got onto them fairly early. Like I saw them on the Dave Sanborn show or whatever. He's a sax player. Can't remember his exact name, but they were on there. They were doing Subway to Venus. So I think it was the late 80s. It might have been 89 or something like that. And I gotta say, they impressed me more than the sludge groups or grunge, as they call them. But still, you know, like they're playing the funk, and I'm going, funk. James Brown was a very talented person, but I hold it against them. They came up with that boring, repetitive stuff. So there's that Dave Navarro, the new guitarist with, well, he was new back then. I don't know if they still got the same guitar. And I think this is Anthony Kiedis wearing a skirt. Tossing his hair around. It's the guy's impressive. I gotta admit, he's a good showman, and I guess he's an okay singer. Trent Reznor, oh man, he reminds me of a guy that we used to work with called Kevin. The look just is not. Yeah. Anyway, I don't like the sound. 9 Inch Nails or him working, presumably solo. I think 9 Inch Nails is basically him working solo. I do like the